this regular council meeting of 2/22/22 started. I'll do the pledge of allegiance first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
News cracker.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Laughlin.
Here.
Councilperson Sexton.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Dean.
Here.
Goodweiler.
Here.
Stillman.
All right, I need someone to give me a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Move.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Why we have to do that?
Oh, well, anyway. Consent agenda consists of the minutes of the February 7th meeting. A Class E liquor license renewal for Little Lights. And the claims for February 22nd. So, someone to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Jerry and Tom. I have nothing to comment on the claims. Are the water meter supply? Never mind. Matt Gouda, water meter supplies, is that 22,000? Water meters? Is that a
Yes.
bunch- Is that a bunch of new water meters?
Yes, we had to order around 200 of them, basically to prepare for the homes that are going to be coming in next year, replacements, and then, yeah, and they were basically telling us 3 to 6 months. We ordered them actually almost 4 months ago, so we're kind of ordering ahead of where we should be, but we want to make sure we have water meters when
Right.
house comes in.
Perfect.
Leslie.
My only comment is where we're using the credit card. It says US Bank corporate card. And then it doesn't say what it's actually for. It just says credit card purchase.
$2,900.
That's an itemized in their actual, when it breaks it down
Yeah. I
by
didn't know.
department. That's my only comment.
Would you like to see it itemized?
I don't know. Do I?
I don't know.
Well, it is in a way, credit card, Park and Rec, and there's clerk and treasurer. The receipts are all,
On the following pages.
they're
it's-
there.
It tells you where they come out of, what department.
Right. If you want to come in and see receipts, you can
No.
anytime, anybody can. Okay.
Leslie's got it.
Go
I
ahead.
just have one clarification. I just noticed that there is an error. It should be a Class C liquor license,
I
not a
was gonna
Class
ask.
E. Yeah, sorry.
There's A, B, C.
Yeah, the staff sheet is correct, but I see the agenda.
All right.
typo, so that's my error. So just taking it back.
I mean, I guess back in
Let me get it on my tally. See here.
when we first started doing this, I can't remember who we always asked the police chief before we renewed a liquor
Oh.
license if there was.
Yeah, we used to ask, I remember.
Chief Hannah.
We haven't had any issues out there at all. Not that I'm aware of anyways.
Okey-doke.
Okay, let's vote on the consent agenda, please.
Councilperson Sexton.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Goodweiler.
Yes.
Stillman.
Yes.
Okay, we are ready for presentation of an Eagle Scout project proposed by Jeremy Boudreau.
Eagle Scout candidate. So go ahead, Jeremy. It's all yours.
So I'm working on my Eagle Scout project and I'm gonna buy 2 sets of cement bag boards, which they have pictures of. And I'm putting those at Wapsie. And then at Veronic, I'm putting 2 sets of horseshoe pits also.
Working on a little.
So you explained this to the, I've seen this before, when our P and Z or who? Park and Rec Board. Yeah,
It's presented to Park and Rec 2 times, so. just give you some-
Okay.
The Park and Rec Board, what'd they think about it?
I think they liked it.
Did they have any concerns?
I don't think so.
the horseshoe pits, were they wooden or
Yeah.
composite material?
I think they're wooden.
Wooden. Okay, with the sand
Yeah.
base. Okay.
Jeremy, would they have to bring their own horseshoes and bags, or would they?
I think we talked about the city would supply, or like you could rent them, or however that would work.
So I think I've seen some cement ones and Solon have them.
Yeah, I think so.
Bag things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty hefty.
Yeah, I've seen them around.
I don't know, though. I guess if I was going to have a concern, my only concern would be the horseshoes. I see those pits fenced in a lot to keep people from getting whacked with horseshoes. Yeah. But
It's a lot.
I,
Where at Wapsie Park were you thinking?
I think we were thinking like in between the road and the playground, I think if there was enough room. Otherwise, like the north side of the playground.
the horseshoes were going at Bronick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bag boards at Wapsie.
Yeah,
Oh,
bags,
okay.
bags are.
And there's a couple different spots. I have pictures of them. At Brown, we were thinking.
We could move on to an item or two if, give you time to relax, so you don't have to feel so much pressure, and then we'll, okay, let me know when you're ready.
Jeremy, you want to talk about how you raised the money for this?
I just asked like family, friends, and a couple businesses to fundraise. Get the money,
How much is it gonna cost?
$3,000, I think.
$3,000?
Better, it won't cost us a penny. What won't?
When do you plan on starting this?
I think we were shooting for April 15th, if it.
Gotta get it done before it turns 18.
He's got a long ways to go.
Okay.
What are you, about 15?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are you doing this yourself, or you got the rest of the?
Yeah, they're all gonna help.
Part of the Eagle Scout, you have to have 100 hours involved. And that's cumulative.
That includes fundraising and
No,
this.
apparently not.
I think they've changed that.
Oh, they did?
I don't think it's.
It's the new, kinder, gentler.
No one ever kept track of it.
I know. Well, he's probably got 40 hours and going around and presenting stuff and raising funds anyway, so.
Okay, well, go ahead and we'll, let them know, let me know when you're ready.
We're sharing it with Nick, and he'll be able to put that on the screen.
Cool.
Let's take care of an item here while we just wait. All right. I'd like to do the third reading of the ordinance 790. Traffic and vehicles, chapter 65, stop where you yield. And give me a motion, someone. Get that, Leslie? Yep. All right, nothing's changed from last time. Any other comments? Vote then.
Councilperson Sexton,
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes,
All right, second reading, ordinance 791. Rezoning approximately 7.92 acres of parcel from R1 residential district to R2 residential district. Do I need a motion, please?
so. Second,
Okay, this is the almost the final phase of the Meadows, second to last phase. We'll be relieved.
Chris, you want to say something about, you talked to the developer about changing the,
Sure. Yeah, last time there were some comments about the standard look of the duplexes, I guess. So then I've talked to the realtor who represents those three groups, and they said they'd be glad to change. They have 2 or 3 different packages that they can flip the roof shape or the porch shape to make it look different. So,
Love that, yeah,
so they didn't have any trouble with that.
thank you. Nice. So this is into a, not zero lot, is it? It's just R2. It's just the same thing. Any other questions, comments? Let's go ahead and vote, please.
Councilperson Dean?
yes.
Miller?
yes,
Stulman?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yeah.
Goodweiler?
Yes. I think we're still working back there. All right, tax levy. Oh, we got a public hearing. This is a public hearing concerning the proposed property tax levy. Maximum property tax levy. I didn't really understand this thing here, this chart, but is there anyone here to speak toward the tax levy, our proposed 5-cent increase in tax levy?
is there ever anybody that comes and talks to the public
We
hearing?
have to, though.
I know,
I think that's a good thing, actually. All right, hearing no comment, we will close the public hearing and move on to the resolution approving resolution 22-13, approving the maximum property tax levy for fiscal year 2023. I need a motion, please.
so moved.
Second. We will raise $1.712 million in tax levies.
Can't go over.
Can't go over that. Governor slaps my hand.
I'm gonna clarify a couple points just to try and help out. So sorry about this chart, but that is a state mandated chart. I know it doesn't make sense. I'll try and help you help determine if you get questions or what the purpose is. I guess the intent is for more transparency in our budget process. So there's supposed to be 2 public hearings. One is for the levy, which is what we're doing now. Then the second one is in March for our actual budget. These are what makes this legislation confusing is the state legislature wants us to report on basically our non-voter approved levies and not our debt or our referendum levies. So even though this is where it gets really confusing, even though we're saying this is our tax levy, it doesn't include our debts. That's the state mandate. That's the state law. We're just doing what we're told to do. And I do want to distinguish the difference between the levy rate and the total levy. So when we're talking levy, it's the total number of dollars. So when we get new buildings, when our valuations go up, that gets included in the levy. So in that bottom right-hand corner, it says an increase of 5.49%. We are not increasing the tax rate by 5.49%. The amount of dollars that we are levying is going up by 5%, whether that is through new buildings or property values that have increased. Where we got hit a little bit harder this year is general liability. ICAP's been hit pretty hard. And we did have support of our local emergency management commission. They went from $9,000 to $11,000. That's only $2,000. It's not a big, huge jump. But those are kind of the two unexpected ones. As a council, you guys wanted to make sure that we were taking care of town hall. So we did bump that from 10,000 to 20,000 that we're levying for. But overall, it's a small increase of basically 5 cents or so on the levy itself, which is
Total levy.
correct. And so just kind of distinguishing those because when some people see levy, they think taxes are going up 5%. Well, not necessarily. And so depending on the community, I've seen Tipton gone up by 9%, Marion 7%, Solon 9%, Iowa City was 0. I couldn't find West Liberty's, but it's kind of all over depending on growth. It's not so much that we're raising the tax levy rate. So that's where it becomes a little confusing is it's the actual total dollars we're getting, which comes through growth and property valuation increases.
Okay. So $11.19 is what this particular levy is about, but
Correct.
we're going up to 13. So that $2 is debt.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
debt,
Correct.
pretty much.
It's about 39 for the capital reserve and another $50 to 70, somewhere in that range for our debt.
Okay. Less than 20%. All right, any other questions, comments on this resolution? Hearing none, we'll vote then, Leslie.
Councilperson Dean,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bigweiler,
Yes.
Stulman.
Yes.
Looks like they're still working. All right. This is a good civic lesson for you. All right, resolution 22-14, approving pay estimate number 2, the final pay estimate for the I-80 water main relocation. Motion, please.
So moved.
Looks like it. Cool. Except for the retainers, there's no
This is the retainage, the $9,000.
9,000. Because
You
we
paid-
approved the other a while ago. That's
Yeah, we
right.
did the 180. in
All right,
December.
you're right. All right, be done with it. Let's pay them off. Anything else? Go ahead.
Councilperson Miller,
Yes.
Bigweiler,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Stulman,
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
Resolution 22-15, approving a professional service agreement with Impact 7G to prepare and submit an application for funding in the amount of $500,000 to the Iowa Finance Authority in regards to stormwater project.
So
Motion-
moved.
Motion, please.
So this resolution sounds funny when you read it. It sounds like we're approving an agreement with them to fund for $500,000, but it's only a $10,000 agreement.
That's, yeah,
So when you read it, it sounds like we're agreeing to pay them $500,000.
that's why I stumbled a little bit.
I heard you.
Yeah, it's $10,000. We can pay for from probably our stormwater fund. I imagine. Matching funds will come from the, if we get it, will come from the, what's the name of the project?
The Wapsie Creek widening
Yeah.
sponsored.
Sponsored project, that's correct. How about this $10,000? This $10,000, can that be? Can't reimburse ourselves or out of anything else. can we?
One thing, it says the application will include the following components. The Lower Cedar River Watershed Management Authority, Cedar County Board of Supervisors, the Meadows developers, and other project advocates. Would it benefit us if we included the Hoover Foundation and, the United States government and all that other stuff? I mean, that might hurt us too. They might say, we're not helping them, but
I think it would be a benefit, I suppose.
And I can double check with Impact 7G. They may have submitted it because everybody was quick in returning those back. Most of the time it takes you a few days or a week, but pretty much everybody that was an advocate signed that day. So our partners are willing to step up right away.
Okay,
And
Check
I would
that
say
out.
the thing about this grant is it's basically first come, first served. Getting it in is a higher priority.
okay, thank you. Any other comments? Go ahead.
Councilperson Miller,
yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Stulman? Sexton?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Resolution 22-16 and approving an amendment to a certain purchase agreement with Dustin Anderson.
So moved.
He wants a 1031 exchange.
What's a 1031?
Take the property that he sells and exchange it for another piece of property that he's gonna buy.
Oh, okay.
Well, I had to pay tax.
You gonna lower the price of land? Then you won't be able to buy the other property. Tax-free land swap.
This benefits him and it ultimately benefits us, so get it done. Go ahead.
Councilperson Miller,
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yeah. All right, 22-17, a resolution approving various contracts for Hoover's Hometown Days in the amount of $2,843.29.
So moved.
That's you tonight, Nick. Isn't this part of the last one? No. Big Ten Rentals, Porta Johnny's,
Last one was the
and the band.
balloon base, or the magician.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
that was,
the inflatables and then the magician and walk around performer.
Shouldn't be much more. Did I get a motion? Yeah, you did. Any questions? Okay,
Councilperson Miller,
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Moving right along.
You
Dog
just
park.
jinxed
Pardon?
it. You just
No, I
jinxed it.
didn't. Dog park animal classifications, we have a discussion we need to discuss. So, we had a dog bite. The dog was classified as I don't remember what it was classified as,
Deemed
a
vicious.
2 or 3. A bite with blood.
Level 3.
It was a level 3. And I think the question is, is that park, the dog park Animal Control Commission authorized to ban that dog from is that the question? Ban the dog or
Well,
not ban the dog from
no.
dog park?
I'll try to explain it. It's kind of confusing because in our code, there are 2 different animal boards. There's one that does appeals, and then there's one that does like your normal commission, that's your open public hearing. But in our code of ordinance, it doesn't necessarily state what authority those boards have. And so when I talked to Kevin, our attorney, I said, my interpretation is always this: in a city administrator or a mayor council form of government, council holds the authority to make all the decisions until they start delegating these, I guess, given abilities or authorities.
Formally delegated.
Correct. So it's got to be in writing. It's got to be in our code. And so in this instance, we have pretty strict, say, dog park rules. And if a dog has a history of being classified under a certain item, well, the animal control board, when they reviewed this, they felt that the classification wasn't 100% justified, so they lowered it down. But they still, even with it from going to 3 to 2, it still would meet the dog park rules that you can't go in there. And so that board technically didn't have the authority to say that that dog can go in that park or not. And so what I'm trying to get feedback from is, A, what do I do when I find these? Do I work backwards? I'm seeking your direction. Do I work backwards? Do I let it go? And then going forward, who do you want making these decisions? Because as more and more people now are owning more than one dog, they're owning 2. We have a dog park. We're going to run into these issues again. So who do you want making these decisions, or do you want it to be council? So I'm seeking feedback on 2 things. How far do I go backwards? Or do I let it go when I run into things like these? Or then number 2 is, who do you feel ultimately should make the decision on appeals?
I feel that the decision should be made at the lowest level, and if we have a working structure in place with the animal commissions, let's give them the authority to make those decisions.
Here, I agree with you to an extent, but here's the one issue that I have with this particular situation is that the incident that took place didn't take place at the dog park. All right. So I use the dog park. I go to the dog park. I'm familiar with this dog. This dog is not vicious. There's nothing vicious about this dog whatsoever. This dog is not does not create any danger to any dogs or people at that dog park. Whatever happened out here on this road is still speculation on what actually transpired. So to take something where there wasn't a clear-cut dog attack and then deem this dog vicious and not being able to play at the dog park, and it's people that are making this decision that have absolutely no knowledge of this dog whatsoever, just doesn't seem fair.
To Adam's point, though, correct. We don't have any knowledge of this dog. So
Absolutely.
maybe we shouldn't be making that decision.
But at least if you're gonna
Tom
make,
is right, it should go to the.
but if you're gonna make a decision whether or not a dog's fit to go into the dog park, shouldn't it be the people that are using the dog park and visiting the dog park that are making that decision? Because ultimately it's them and their animals that are at risk, not anybody else.
Yeah, I don't know how you'd have to poll the dog, people at the dog park.
Or make there be a committee.
Animal Control Commission. That's our committee. Isn't it?
I guess that's my question. What's the difference between the two committees that we already have?
I
don't
think
know.
the purpose is, and I don't know when this ordinance would have passed, but I think the purpose is to have a board versus a commission. That board would be able to hear private things and it wouldn't be public versus if you went to Animal Control Commission, it's recorded, it's minutes, it's videotaped, it's on our website. So let's say, there's a child involved and maybe there's some private issues with that child, you would use this board. And so the way the current board is set up, you have one member on that Animal Control Commission. So that would be its pro, doing it that way.
So are these like Doc Myers and Animal Authority?
So my understanding of the board is it's the mayor, one council member, and Nick attended that meeting. And then I think it's one member from the Animal Control Commission. And Chief, feel free to chime in if that's wrong.
Yeah, that's what the rules say. And then Kevin.
And then a licensed veterinarian.
I mean, I guess it's,
Kevin was there and Chief Hannah was there, so we had.
I guess it's okay, but if you're gonna have an appeal board, I mean, then obviously then, that person could drag people in from the dog park and say, my dog's,
That's what happened.
That's
They
what
did.
happened.
They actually did that.
They actually did, they had a couple people from.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple on the other side of things, there was a couple other people that came in
Yeah,
as
it ended up being
witnesses.
a pretty.
So it ended up being
Very productive.
very
meeting.
courtroom
yeah.
style. Obviously, it's not. But sort of was, but the dog was on trial, I guess.
Yeah.
I think what we're getting at is this board doesn't want to,
We don't want to do.
we don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I know Chief Hannah's working on updating that ordinance with the commission. So, yep.
I think it just comes down to the fact that who has the authority? Does the board have the authority
we
or
need to
does the
give the board
commission?
authority. We need to give them official authority, I think. Through resolution or something like
But
that, to
the,
decide those matters.
so would it be like,
So essentially what happened, we came up with this distinction that all of the rules for a class 3 dog apply besides the only sticking point we had is we went besides the dog can still go to the dog. park. So if it's, they're out walking it, needs to have a muzzle. So basically all of the things in
right,
the peer public, besides the dog park, they had to abide by that level 3, but then the board decided that dog park was still an option.
and he doesn't have to have a muzzle, right?
No.
Because that's not. cool.
Yes, no, so that was what was decided, but Adam's saying that he didn't technically have that ability to change the dog park rules, because the rules say a level 3 can't be there at all. So we have to come up with some sort of who gets where does the buck stop, I guess.
Well, I guess it would function just like all our other things. If somebody has a zoning issue, they go to the zoning board and it's just like kids at school. If you don't get the answer you want there, you just go to the next person. Just keep asking until somebody tells you what you want to hear.
And I'm sure somebody could probably come in and appeal what
Right.
our decision was. We
Right.
could look at it again.
Yeah.
But they were present and they were okay with the dog park too, so all parties were, not to say every single time it's gonna be like that.
So let's say
Pretty well.
Yeah.
we delegate it to the Animal Control Board. and somebody appeals that decision, should that be the final buck and it just goes to district court? Or is the final buck council or the animal control commission?
Well, I think we'd want to say so before we had somebody take our town to court.
I mean, you could say board, and if they don't like it, council, and
Yeah.
if they don't like it, yes, they could get a lawyer.
We're the last.
Or would it go to the board, commission, and then council?
Is the board
How
over?
many layers do we, how many layers do we wanna?
Go ahead, Mr. Byer.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep, come here.
Just feel that our animal control commission is advisory to you guys. But when there's an appeal to a board, and the appeals board should have the final decision. Which would be done in that case that we're talking about.
Right.
So they should have the final. It shouldn't go beyond
The
that.
board that gets convened at
I mean-
random.
To me, the appeals board is like the law, the going to court.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because if
They have
even if we
final-
require of that, our lawyer was there. And then the cop was, police were there, so.
Well, you can
legit-
bring them on if you want.
No, that was a
Well, we have-
requirement.
and we'll have a
Oh, it
council.
is?
Our
member.
lawyer, the city lawyer was there.
Oh.
Kevin was there.
Okay.
They can bring a lawyer probably if they want to. I don't think we're saying no, but Kevin was there for our end. I don't think we can say no.
No, we can't say no.
And we had a council member there that was
Yeah.
on our end.
So we
So
represent.
I think that might be where it ends. You don't want to overturn your commissions because we learned that with the,
Zoning board of appeals.
and then they all quit because we,
Maybe probably I'd say council maybe second, and everybody. I would hate to just do control the board and then.
Then
State
override the
court.
board. If the council overrides the board, then the board would just do like the zoning board. of appeals did.
oh,
That would mean that we, as a
Council?
council, would have to know all the facts,
yeah.
what went on,
Mhm.
which would
Go
be.
through
easier.
all the
Let's keep
Reaction
it, let's
all.
keep it simple.
Yeah.
When it gets to the board,
Finally.
that's the final decision.
Alright.
Fine.
And my
Then they
mom
can go
said,
to the other
what
one
part
if
of
it
no do
wants.
you not understand?
They can go up past that if we want to.
Okay,
Fine.
that's it. We're working this out for you? All right. So do we need to give authority to that board then? Official
Yeah, we'll have
authority?
to update our code ordinance. and
Okay.
That chapter, Chief's working on that, so we would just add it in with the.
Okay. All right.
So do we have to track? How do we track that dog's okay to go to the dog park? Not to add another layer. We get like 10 more of these and all of a
Complaints.
sudden Leslie's got a list of 10 that you can give to and,
Yeah, well, we do have a list of 4 dogs
okay.
that's kept on a spreadsheet between the chief and I.
We are going forward and tracking.
I was just curious about where that went
Is there-
after.
Is there
Okay.
any reason that they can't go out there that we don't know that we're not out there either? We just know that they're not supposed to be out there and we'll try to educate them for that same reason.
How does an animal become classified? Does a veterinarian do it?
No, it has to be very bad and then the chief classifies it and sends them a letter of his interpretation of the violent, I don't
In our
wanna say-
code.
the, whatever the animal did, committed his crime, it gets classified. Whether
Or
it's
it's a
just,
criminal, or it's a, I see,
there's,
I see. Alright,
Yeah, there's different.
alright,
it can just be at large or it can be
So the
Alright.
next page is,
threatening.
you cycle the next pages, you can see our code. Like level 4 is like causes, 3 is bites. 4, I think, is like death.
Yeah, level 4 is real bad. That's bad.
Yeah, level 4 would be real
That's-
bad.
alright.
Get Labradors, they don't.
Um,
Sure bark at me when I walk by.
Yeah.
I had one bit 2 people.
Your Labrador?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, bad boy.
I read up to there and then quit reading. Sorry.
Labrador's
If you
bad,
come in
yeah.
my house uninvited, you get bit. It's that simple. If he don't get you, I will.
Mine will just pounce on you and knock you over. Okay. All right, is Jeremy ready? All right, yeah, let's finish Jeremy.
Let's try this again.
Yeah,
Start fresh.
all right.
Before we get in the fire department one.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's gonna try and share the screen with the thing. So Jeremy approached me about a year ago with looking for projects for his Eagle Scout projects. And we came up with a list of different things that he could do. And then he decided he liked these two options, the bag boards, the permanent bag boards, and then the horseshoe pits. Both of those were items that the parks didn't have. We used to have horseshoe pits in the parks. So we came up with those ideas. And then he approached the Park and Rec Commission the first time to see if they thought it was a good idea for him to go forward. And then they gave him the okay to go ahead and go forward. So he did some planning, and then he came back to the Park and Rec Commission with some design options. Jeremy and I also went out and looked, and he'll fill you in again more about all of that. We also went out and looked at the parks to see locations and things like that. And he's working with Public Works also to make sure that we have the best locations for these things for maintenance for the future. Okay, is that kind of a sum up? Okay, so now he can take you through the different slides, and there you go. You
Go
got it?
ahead, Jeremy.
So those are the bag boards, and then that was the style of horseshoe pits that Parks and Rec picked. So I can't really tell where these ones are, but I think like that third picture is the north side of the basketball court. And then,
It's between the building and the basketball court.
yeah. And I think that the first picture is the north side of that building, like in between the trail and the building. And
So is it 2 or 3 different options there that you're?
yeah, and then I think
Giving
there
us?
might, yeah, and then these two. The first one is just like that area east of the bathrooms, and then the second one is in between like the sidewalk and the basketball.
Looks like could use some help. A lot of traffic there, though, a lot of kids. My only worry is a kid running between the stakes and getting clobbered.
I have another worry, and I don't want to say anything because I don't want to be difficult, but can we scroll back to the picture of the horseshoe pit? So my concern is, because I know kids at parks that are unattended, is that they're gonna be up on there trying to walk those beams and walk around up on there and play on that. And then they fall off and then they impale themselves on a stake. Or they fall off and they hurt themselves on it. Kids get hurt, that happens. I'm just pointing it out there. So when,
Not our fault.
I understand. I mean, bad decisions are supposed to hurt. But
What's your bag board made of?
They're
Do what?
made out of We're just buying them. Somebody makes them.
We do make, I've seen them, to go along with that point, I've seen them in parks, not to say they can't be removed, but they put the same thing they do for your rebar caps. More concrete, it's a classic rebar caps, so a lot of times if you go to use it, I mean, you just gotta, somebody's gotta be responsible enough to put them back. I've seen them too where they chain them on, or
Yeah, that could be
down on the
chained
bottom, they
or corded to.
they weld a little nipple or whatever on the bottom of the spike, because it doesn't change the way you play horseshoes, and then they chain it on, and then they set it in the corner away from the game or back behind.
That's
And
good.
then when you're done, you put it back on. But I've seen them that way. like I said, somebody's gotta put that cap back on.
Right.
Or if you're walking by and you see it's off, they'll put it back on. But that's an alleviation of attempt at an alleviation of the problem.
Would the back of that have to be that tall? I mean, you know, playing horseshoe match, but sure it's made for a long. For the rules, for the height of that back.
It's supposed to stop.
Near throw.
Yeah, an errant throw because horseshoes will roll. So you could take somebody out 15 feet behind the board if you hit them just right.
But all in all, I think it's a great idea and we should do it. There's just,
I'm not gonna concern myself with that.
and impaling a kid's not gonna concern you.
Don't make it sound like that. Okay, Jeremy, so we just need to, you're looking for us to tell you where you want to put that horseshoe cost?
I guess.
I'd say between the building and the basketball court would be preferable over.
Can we leave that decision between Public Works and
Sure we
Melissa?
could.
How about that? You
Well,
don't have to worry
We're
about
good
it.
at punting off tonight, aren't we? Give the decision to somebody else.
We support the project and thank you very much for all your help. and work.
I'm sure Melissa will be in touch with you and we'll figure out where
All
she
right.
wants to stick them.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Do we have signs posted like, we're not, the city is not liable for any,
Stupidity.
Yeah. You mark at your own risk.
Yeah, if you get hurt on city property,
right? I mean,
we're covered.
We do have signs.
I thought,
Oh, signs.
Yeah,
Oh.
we have signs.
okay, well then, that,
It could be.
Yeah, they're on the signs of the parks. If you get hurt, it's not.
Just so it's there, to be
Not ours.
really small print, just so it's.
they're not anything.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Item 10 is fire park.
We need to vote on it, don't we?
No.
Just a discussion.
Oh, is that just a discussion?
No, it wasn't even that.
Oh, it's just a presentation.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Okay. Go ahead, Kevin.
So I first brought this kind of up to you guys during budget when we were working on the budget. I brought it back to Adam and showed him kind of what our costs were. This isn't the final number. We're still working on some engineering stuff and fine tuning the specs yet, but we're really, that number is probably pretty close what you guys have. The 846. You guys have all that?
Yeah.
So what the deal is, so if we would pay for that up, if you guys decide you want, okay with doing this, you pay it for upfront, money up front, you get basically a $34,000 discount. You pay for the thing up front.
Versus a year or two from now.
So,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
so when you sign the contract, you would have to pay for it probably when you sign the contract, basically. Well, there's options here. So one thing, we're 2 years, so if we signed a contract today, you're 2 years. They told me to begin with, we're 19 to 21 months out. So last week, they called me again, said they're 23 to 24 months out now on orders. Plus, the other problem is May 1st, we don't sign a contract for May 1st, we got another 7% on top of that number I have right there. That's $59,000. If we decide we want to do this and we wait till after May 1st, that's another $59,000 if we wait till after May 1st. There's all different kinds of ways we could, we don't have to pay for it up front, but you lose out in the $34,000. You can pay it at the end, when it's delivered, but you lose those discounts. There's other discounts. You don't have to pay for all of it. You pay for part of it, and the discounts just start going, aren't as good. What else?
I mean, usually before we ordered trucks, they were, you know, a year or less. You know, we're up to 2 years now. There's all kinds of advantages of by order. I mean, the longer we wait, the more, you know, inflation goes up, the more it's gonna cost us. So I'm just trying to, you know, by the time this truck would get here, our other truck's about 25, be about 24, 25 years old. It's a 2000 truck to replace.
Just gonna ask you. they were
Well, we're
asking-
usually between 20 to 25 years.
So it's not like we're asking to move it up 2 years.
And basically, we're 2 years away from ever getting it, you know, once we order it. I talked to Adam, had some ideas on how to fund it. I think if we wanted to pay for it up front or whatever, whatever you guys, you want to talk about that now, Adam?
Yes, I have a quick question.
Yep.
please, okay. So, if we went and ordered this thing and approved it before May 1st, and it's 2 years before we get it, will it have all the updates current and 2 years, or is it gonna be built as today's standards, where in 2 years, them standards could be completely different?
It'd probably be today's, because the technology, you know, we'd be paying for 2 years more technology. Or I don't know what's gonna happen in 2 years. I need to talk to him, because I didn't, you know, before we were 19 months, now we're 24 months, so that's a good question, but I'm assuming maybe if they couldn't get a part that, say a light, you know, some sort of light, you can't get that light anymore, so they'd have to update the light. That'd be on them, not us, because once we signed the contract, you know, if it was an upgrade that they had to do because they couldn't get something, it's gonna be on them.
If they come up with something new in that 2 years, they will ask us. and
This
then
is-
ask for
They'll
more
probably
money.
ask.
No, they'll ask. We're like, hey, we updated this. Would you want to put this on your new truck for an extra 45?
Is this just a tanker truck or is this a pumper truck or
It's a combination.
combination?
Yes.
So the technology of a tank holding water and pumping water, that doesn't change too much. It's pretty much where it's at.
I mean,
So, I mean, I don't,
The stuff, it'll be.
you know,
stuff in the cab.
sometimes those upgrades just cost you more money and they don't, I mean, so this truck's gonna have it's got it's got the side airbags on it, it's got tons of safety stuff on it. But you know how upgrades are in new cars. I mean, sometimes you don't need every one of those upgrades, so.
All the upgrades
I
in the
mean,
cab.
we're on with buying an electric fire truck. I don't think you want that, so.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're buying a 2024 fire truck.
It
so
will be a
whatever-
24 when it'll
Yeah.
be that year when we get it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be a 22 truck.
Right. So, I mean, we're buying a brand new one, a 2024 fire truck.
A lot of these places.
But
don't.
that's a good, but you know, I'm assuming they're gonna have to cover, you know, if you can't get that light you spec'd out, they're gonna have to put the upgrade on there and that's the conversation I'll
I
have.
didn't know if there was any federal stuff that had to be maybe put on a truck that in a couple years might need to be updated that.
So one of the upgrades would be something with emissions, you know, emissions are probably gonna have upgrades here in the next year or two. Well, we're not gonna have to do that upgrade because it was ordered. You know, emissions aren't always the greatest thing in the world either, so. But, and they just cost you more money, like the DEF and that.
All right, let's figure out how we can get.
So I'm gonna let Adam explain what his thoughts were on that.
I'm surprised they already don't have class 4 eco diesels. That's the def.
There are two options to pay for it. I did talk with our bond attorney today out of Dorsey Whitney. They did say we could add it to our capital improvement plan. So there's the possibility of when we're ready to start getting closer to pay for the roundabout or east side mains, say August, September, in that time frame. When we bond, we could take out the extra money and pay it back, or we could do it internally through hotel motel and lost. The pros and cons of doing it internally would be it doesn't affect our debt levy. There wouldn't be, or I guess our constitutional debt limit. We wouldn't be paying interest on it, but it will take us longer to get the money back. It would take us until 2024. If we did a loan or a bond, we would pay whatever interest rate there would be on there, whether it's 2% or 3%, whatever it would be. But we would be able to get the money right away. I'm hesitant to borrow from Lost and Hotel Motel for a long period of time because those have specific uses. We've done it in the past, but they are voter approved revenues for specific purposes. So that's my hesitancy on doing it all internally. But they are an option. If it's our job to look out for the best use of taxpayer funds, we can do it internally. I think that's more for you guys to decide. I like, I prefer having a strong balance in our accounts, but when I did the math, if inflation stays the same, we're never going to have enough money to pay for it. If it keeps going up 7%, because we're not going to increase our revenues aren't going to go up 7%. So we almost, in my opinion, we almost have to do something. I don't want our funds to go that low. We'll be fine in hotel motel. But I guess that's kind of your guys' decision. To me, on the outside looking in, it's kind of a no-brainer. We're saving the city $220 some thousand by purchasing it now versus waiting until we can get closer to fund it 100%.
We're looking at $100,000 to $116,000 is what we're looking for.
Correct.
I'm totally against using lost money because that's for parks. That's what it was voted for.
Well, if we're paying it
Totally
back,
against-
if we're paying it back though,
Oh,
Roger,
right. yeah,
it's
okay.
not like we're taking it and not giving it
By
back.
the time the truck would get here, we'd have, it's gonna be pretty well. It will be.
Okay. All right. I see what you did there.
I guess the way I look at it right now is if we approve this for now, we're actually saving $93,000. 7% increase, and then the 34,000 they're gonna give us for paying for it up front. So we wait until after May
Let's
1st.
figure out a way to get it done.
How long would we pay off the bond?
So
How much is it?
It'd be the standard. What I asked Maggie when I did our evaluation for budget or for our draft budget discussion was 15-year payoff for everything combined. So, but we would give that money back. We'd get that money immediately as a bond.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to figure out how much interest.
2%, 3%, something like that.
Yeah, well, I just meant like over 15 years.
What that-
What-
what that
would-
amount would
Yeah,
be.
what would the total extra be?
Another question I
Take
would
that
have
off
is,
the 225 or whatever we're set to make, and is it a wash or is it better off to float it? That's kind of what's gonna be my question. Was the interest that we pay.
I'm assuming that in the next few years, we're gonna have another truck that's gonna need to be replaced.
No, we're down the road quite a ways. I mean, my next thing would be air packs. There's really not a truck close. Be the med truck,
What do you mean
probably
by close?
Huh?
10 years
Possibly somewhere in there.
after 2024 or
No,
10 years from now? Ish.
I don't even have one on the thing right now.
That's,
I'm trying to think what that one is. We're probably close to 10 years. But there's some air pack stuff that needs to be upgraded, and that's my next thing. And I don't even know what the fire service is like in 10 years, it's gonna be different, I can tell you. I mean,
I mean, the air packs aren't $1 million.
no, they're
I know.
not even close, but,
So like in the next 2 years, you'd be able to generate enough income through the department.
So our set aside was up to like $135,000 a year for that truck, so. July 1, we'll basically have what, 520, something like that. We'll have 520 cash. And And then I'm predicting between 75 and 100,000 for our used truck. And then the rest would be set aside for the next 2 years. So it should, you know.
So that's set aside to go to pay back the lost.
Yeah.
It has a surplus, is there enough surplus there that? Lost and the hotel motel, there's not that much.
In lost, there will not be that much left. There will be 20 or 30,000. Hotel motel, we will still be, we'll still be quite a bit above our reserve requirement we've given ourselves.
Yeah, it was up at 40 or more, right?
The thing about, loss is it's just tricky because we could change its use based off of, in the referendum, what it'll look like. That's where
New
it's
We could change its use with a new referendum.
correct.
Right.
Correct. And that's where it makes it tricky to have a specific reserve requirement for loss.
Taking 90 out of loss, is it 35 out of? Hotel?
That way we had a little bit of cushion room.
So could we just add the balance to the bond? And then when they pay us back, first of all, we'll loan them the money. Then as soon as we get that bond by August, July, August, with September, whenever we do the bond, we compare ourselves back immediately. And then when the fire department pays us back, we can take that money and we can look on some of our other loans that we have that we can pay off now, that have reached that point, that are getting close, use that money, just buy that debt off and be done with it.
Although it's a good idea to, I guess, that we'll get our money back. But every time I've asked if we can pay off a debt early, we cannot, because that is part of the expectations of investing in government bonds.
There's only
is that
one debt we could pay off early right
There's specific rules to
Well,
that.
it ain't that much money, so. I mean,
It's not that much money, let's do it internally.
You're gonna pay interest on it, it might not be worth.
That's the
Yeah,
question
we
I
can't-
have.
if you're interest is 3%.
Interest on, you might be better off just using the case we have
now. That's
and
what
not getting as big a discount.
I mean,
That was
that's
probably gonna be
what I'm
break even
looking
by the
for.
time you pay the interest. on it.
That's
That was the
where it's a
question I asked.
question of, that's where it's a question of, I guess, a political or moral value, I guess, is if it's acceptable for you guys to borrow from Lost and Hotel Motel. That's not necessarily my call. You can do it, but has to be through resolution, has to be clear, it has to be paid off.
Okay, so Lost has a defined use for it.
Correct,
Hotel motel has a defined use for it.
correct. 50%.
So is it legal for us to borrow from those funds? And as long as we have through resolution, promise to reimburse that? Really?
we could actually borrow it from the sewer fund if we wanted. I mean, you can borrow from anywhere you want to if you're gonna put it back.
We did an internal loan in the last truck we bought. We did this, I don't know what fund it came from, but you did an internal loan on that too, to do the same thing.
If we end
That
up,
was, we borrowed money from you, didn't we?
No.
I thought we borrowed money from you and then we paid you back by.
No.
I don't think that was,
Yeah.
that was
No.
something else.
That
It
was
wasn't for
something
the
else
fire
that
truck,
done
but
that.
we did borrow something
Yeah.
from them and paid them back on some other
Yes.
project.
yes, you can borrow from other funds. If you don't pay it back, then yes, there's a huge issue and it will be public and it will be, we probably would get in trouble from the state, but as long as we're paying it back. I don't know if there's a year limit, but 2 years is not that long to pay something back. So
So if motel stays go down the tubes, we would lose some revenue there. I mean, that's the risk. If
you lose your cushion that you have.
the motel goes out of business and closes, then we would lose that. We run that risk.
Can we,
Yes.
Well, it would be paid through future fire department set aside. So even if the hotel motel was gone, it's not being paid through hotel, it's being paid through reserves, which are hotel motel reserves.
135, which currently was.
Correct. So the money would be there. It would just be the fire department, rather than it being a private set aside that goes to the fire department. It'll be a internal exchange of funds. So it won't go directly in the fire department. It'll go directly to Lost and Hotel.
Reimburse those funds.
Correct.
And we agree to pay, because they'll, if we don't do it up front, they don't ask for any of the money. Be a small portion.
You mean on contract?
Yeah,
So you could pay for it all at the end too. when
you wouldn't
sign
get to
it.
34.
No.
So my question is, if it's an ethics thing, can we say we're gonna do it internally and then? I mean, it'll cost us 34, but then we'll know by September
Why-
whether we
Why
want,
pass up that 34?
well, because you seem to have a little bit of heartburn of stealing from Lost.
We're not
Well,
stealing,
no,
we're
no,
Not
no,
borrowing.
stealing, borrowing it.
I'm gonna get over it.
So all I'm saying is, well, you want to scrap the 34 and then we
No,
just say
no,
that,
For 34,000,
okay.
I'm
Well,
okay
then
with it.
apparently Roger's okay with taking stuff from
We've
Lost. for
talked
34.
about
Okay,
a
we know Roger's
no-brainer
price.
decision for way too long, guys.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
I was just trying to help him out. You know Roger's
Are
price.
we all on
34K.
the same page then? I'm
Well,
thinking internally.
We'll draft a resolution for next.
So to clarify it though, we have to sign contract before May 1st.
Yeah.
And then probably pay after July 1 or
Yep.
something like that.
My only other
Pay
question.
how much at that time?
The whole shooting
Okay.
match.
But you have that money in set aside.
I got
It's
one.
included. It's-
Okay,
it's
that's
all
gonna be my other
included.
question is 135 left. Does that take out what we're gonna use for downstream? lighting?
Yes. So
'Cause I would hate
that-
to.
that's the purpose of that bird's eye summary that I give you. So that way I'm not over obligating stuff.
Okay, just making sure, because I didn't want to like pin this for the fire truck and then say, oh, we can't do downstream lighting now because we took the money out for the fire truck.
But this is partly why those reserves never work, and then it's part of why they do too. So, you know,
Well, yeah, it's partly
Go a
why
long
you
way
need
to
them.
help pay for it.
I mean, but well, we find something for that reserve. We ain't even hardly got it, we already found something.
Well, I might understand that next year,
7% inflation, I think is a little bit. of
we
an
should be
outside.
setting aside another 135.
We're 120 this budget we're in, but the next budget it was
On
130.
July 1st, they'll get theoretically another 135.
Does that get it to the 520 or is that?
That is
It-
the 5.
Okay,
that- yeah,
okay, so then the next year we would, that's why we're 2 years out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And the other question was, do we want to charge our volunteer fire department 2% interest? I say no.
I say no.
I say no too.
I'm no.
Also.
Especially at 1 or 2%. Maybe if it was like 7 or 8, I might be okay.
All the taxpayers' money anyway.
Okay, Adam, Kevin, got a direction there? Thanks, Kevin. City administrator report.
Salary surveys, I've sent those out. We're gonna try and, I'm gonna send another reminder Friday, but hopefully in the next 2 weeks or so, I'll start putting the data together for you guys to take a look at. Just a reminder, there's 2 planning and zoning meetings in March, 1st and the 22nd. Hometown Days, I'm having staff put together a recommendation for wristbands next meeting. And then I did sign up for Home Base Iowa to be a employer, a part of that program. I haven't heard anything back yet from the organization or what it means, but I at least signed up for more information. With you guys' comments on the fire truck, I'll start pushing forward on a final capital improvement plan, and how things are funded. We talked kind of draft wise what things would look like, but I'll try and finalize things. And then Roger mentioned this, but I'll keep you guys kind of informed in the event that I guess my wife has an early term pregnancy. The biggest thing that's our worry is the state reported budget. So I'd come in and, if that was the instance, I'd work with Heidi just to make sure that's good to go. Our internal budget that you guys read and can decipher a little bit better, that can be done, whenever. So it's just hitting that March deadline. So I'll regardless of what happens, we'll make sure Heidi and I will make sure that gets done in terms of our state forms. But those just tend to be confusing, and I try not to use those for you guys. So
We got 2 meetings to return to pass that.
So we'll do a public hearing, setting a public hearing next meeting in March. And then we'll have to send notices to the paper prior to that, but it would be the March 21st
We set the public hearing last meeting.
for the levy, property tax
So
levy.
on the 7th, we'll set a public hearing for the actual full-blown budget. And we'll have the public hearing, and immediately after that. we have
That should have been done now, because why would you have a public hearing? What if somebody comes in on the 22nd and drops a bombshell on us? What do you do then?
That's the purpose for the tax levy. So, and that's the purpose for having the work sessions that we had too. Paper's already reported a good chunk of our budget. So,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Kevin Olson's not here. Dave Schekinger might have something to say about the roundabout, maybe? You got anything to report on, Dave?
We're still waiting for the 28E to get reviewed by the county attorney. We did receive an update from the county engineer's office today, and they provided some prices based on our most recent discussion with the areas that we were going to have fall under the city's jurisdiction for the project and those for the county. And we're pretty close to what we had previously. The numbers didn't increase all that much, so that looks pretty favorable. They've given us a rough estimate, including construction engineering and final design. And we're right around that $700,000 number. So that's where we thought we would be previously. Things haven't gone up too much. And we're looking to give them direction to keep moving on that. The only other thing I have to report on is that on the downstream widening project, we're still waiting for the second appraisal company to review the first appraisal company's values. That's required for eminent domain proceedings. So as soon as we get that report back from the second appraisal company, we should be able to proceed with the eminent domain process.
Okay.
Dave, you have anything to report on for wastewater treatment?
We did have a pre-bid meeting today, despite the weather. We did have several people show up for that. And I've notified other plan holders that if they're interested in viewing the site or have questions, we can line up another visit prior to bids. So just waiting for questions to roll in. Usually that doesn't happen until we get a lot closer to the bid date. We have had quite a few people interested in contacting us, but nothing too substantial yet.
So there's decent interest then? I guess that's a good thing. That's good.
Yes.
Okay. That's anything else, Dave? If not, thank you. City staff, anyone? No. I have nothing.
I have something.
Go ahead.
ICAD last weekend on Saturday had a forum at Kirkwood Community College of all the cities that belong to ICAD, and the emphasis of Bill Johnson County. West Branch wasn't invited.
It's okay, we'll get over it.
Well, We paid them a bunch of money. And I don't think we're getting anything out of it.
Taxes that you pay, Johnson County.
I don't think we don't pay ICAD, do we?
I thought we did.
Yeah, we pay ICAT 2,500 a year. 2,500.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
For what?
Be a member of their program.
Yeah, for the
So
meeting.
we don't get invited to the Cool Kids Club?
Well, I've always been under the impression that we need to belong to those things to get something out of it. And if they're not.
I get emails from John, from ICAD, probably
I do too.
3 a week,
I do too.
and I don't read them, some of them. They're all,
Out of a span.
I actually
They're-
do read
so
them.
maybe we did get invited and I blew it off.
I get them too, and I don't remember seeing an invite for it.
No, I read them. They give us a bunch of stuff about
I
grants.
used to read them a lot, but I haven't lately.
Part of it is we need to just be pulling on there.
I
I think
know.
that's part of it. So when I get a little bit more comfortable, it's my intent to meet with them too. So it's just like all organizations, you gotta pull at them, unfortunately. We're in this weird awkward geography where we're right next to counties and, yeah, it's, yeah.
And that's that Nick Nolte dude, right? Is that who
No,
ICAD is?
he's gone.
He's gone.
He's long gone.
Well, that was the last time we heard anything from him was when Nick Nolte was there.
Yeah, that was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Then they got embezzled pretty bad.
Wasn't,
Hadn't heard from him since.
isn't ICAD the Iowa City Area Development?
Yeah,
Why are we in it anyway?
because they might market our land out.
Because we don't have a West Branch area.
I get it, but why would we give a crap about?
We're there because.
Why would,
Be a lot cheaper
why would a
than
bunch
We
of
have an
people,
industrial park.
I
That's
get it,
why
but
we're
why
there.
would a bunch of people in Iowa City that live in Johnson County want to say,
That
hey,
would
have you
make a
heard of the
great
county
research.
next door?
That would make a great research park.
It would also make more sense to me if I lived in
It could be the
Johnson
new
County and
North
wanted to
Laredo.
make Johnson County better was, have you heard of Solon?
If the university buys.
Have you heard of Tiffin? Have you heard of all the ones in Johnson County that will actually make a difference for me? Not the little West Branch in Cedar County that will do no justice for me.
Not all of Cedar County.
I get it. Okay, so the 2 blocks. Johnson County. I don't really think they really care.
I think ICAD brought us Procter and Gamble,
They
didn't they?
did.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yep.
I toured ICAD even before I got here. We did some Iowa League of City stuff. So there's a lot of exposure, and I know West Branch's name was on quite a bit of the materials. I don't know how much communication has been in the past, but there's a lot more people that come in and out of those. than they do.
More so than Sedco.
And as a matter of
They
fact,
don't got it.
ICAD brought US Auto Force here. They're the ones that
Did
worked
they?
real hard, yeah.
There you go. Well worth the money.
And I'm okay.
I
I
remember
was
that.
probably thinking more of the.
Anything
I
else?
guess my feelings aren't that hurt.
No, I was thinking more of the Sedco situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least he came and talked to us. so.
We can invite the director. I don't know.
I wouldn't mind having,
Nick Nolte was here a couple of times.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
the actual Nick Nolte.
Is that his name?
What?
Is that his actual name?
I think it is.
Oh, I wasn't sure if you're calling him Nick Nolte because he looks like
No,
Nick
I think
Nolte.
that was his name.
And I'm not sure. if
Or
I
maybe it
want
was
that,
Mark Nolte.
Okay.
Mark Nolte.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure if I
Why
want
don't we
somebody
call it
that
that?
looks like Nick Nolte coming in and giving me a presentation about. Yeah, not the current Nick Nolte.
That was me who said that. Anything else, anybody? Motion to adjourn?
So
Second. All those in favor say aye.